Hey there, worm people. Captain Matt here. We're in Hudson Falls today, and we're here at the Adirondack Worm Farm with Bill Richmond, the chief worm engineer, whatever we're called. And so Bill and I, we just met. Jude's with us. Bill's going to take us around and just show us his worm farm.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for coming up, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
We actually do two different things here, related but separate. One is the worms, which I'll show you in a little bit.
Okay.
But the other is we do a curbside composting pickup service. So we pick up Glens Falls, Hudson Falls, Lake George area, Queensbury. People that want to compost but don't want to do it at home.
Yeah.
So we have a 5-gallon bucket. They put all their food scraps in there, and we pick that up, compost it here. So that's kind of what I'll show you to begin with. We also do it on a commercial scale for larger commercial customers.
Great. How many local customers?
We've got about 70 or so residential customers. About 10 or a little less of commercial
That is
customers.
awesome. That's a lot of work.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot of work.
It's about 1,500 pounds of material every week that we're pulling
Awesome.
in. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I say that we're pulling in, really what we're doing is diverting from landfills.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever figure out what that comes to, like in a year's time, what you divert?
Well, I can tell you we started this in September 2019 with the curbside composting side. Since that time, we've diverted 115 tons of food scraps.
That's a lot of tons.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
And this is not a big operation. So, this is when we bring in the buckets, what we do is we provide our customers with what I call a curbside composting concierge service. So, they fill the bucket, we clean it out, wash it, and give it back to them clean, so that they can start the process again. So this is our bucket washing station, just to save my back.
So this is the bucket they get?
No, this is
that's a commercial
64-gallon tote for the commercial customers.
Right. Okay.
The 5-gallon pail that the customers
That's what
have,
I thought. Yeah.
those are in the barn, so I can show you those. But they sit up there nicely, and then we rinse them out, and then give them a wipe down with a brush and let them dry.
Good.
So they're ready to go back to the customers. And then we mix those with some shredded office paper and cardboard that you see over there, some leaves, and then we've got some wood chips that we generally try to use the wood chips as a cover on the compost material, or the compost pile.
Right.
So this is one of our piles going here.
Yeah. You've got your thermostat in there?
Yep. Just about 138 or so. So we've got a number of piles going. We turn them fairly regularly. I try to let them sit for about 10 days to 2 weeks before I turn them the first time.
Okay.
Just to make sure, because I don't want to turn them too soon with a lot of the food waste that's in there still kind of fresh, and you know, attract the pests that you don't want.
Correct. Yep.
Which is part of the reason with the wood chips, you get a layer on top. You've got the mixed material inside, so you got carbon and nitrogen.
So you don't have a lot of odor coming from the pile.
Right.
And,
not a lot to attract rodents
Very
and
nice.
other such like that.
When your pile's done, where does that go?
We'll bring it back over here. After that first turn, it needs to turn a number of times, and we actually let it sit, turning and monitoring the temperature for probably close to a month and a half, 2 months at least. We're doing that.
Okay.
And then once it settles down to a kind of ambient temperature, we move it over here, and this is our curing pile.
Okay.
So that the material, you know, the thing about traditional compost, and what a distinction here between, you know, what the worms do with material that creates the vermicompost or vermicast, and the traditional compost. But the traditional compost, it goes through a heating up process, then it needs to stabilize, and it needs to sit and cure.
Right.
And the longer it cures, the better it is. The more the microbes and the beneficial fungi and everything else.
Yeah. The smaller the pile gets too.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I just have it covered just to keep any weed seeds from blowing on it and getting too wet with the rain and such like that.
Okay.
And then when we're ready to provide that to our customers, we take it out by the bucket full, the tractor bucket full, and then screen it on our worm shifter, similar to yours.
Okay. All right.
I'll show you the buckets in here.
Yeah.
Little muddy today.
Bill, how long have you been doing this?
I started in September 2019.
Do people commit to you for like, okay, we'll try it for a year, or we'll try it for a period of time, see if it works?
I don't require that. I mean, it's a recurring subscription in the sense that, you know, they're just billed automatically every month. But if somebody after 2 months says it's not for me, then you know, that's fine. They can stop.
Good. Good.
If they stay with us for a full year, continuously going through, they get a bag of compost back. So they get a cubic foot of compost.
Yep.
You know, it helps the garden certainly, but it just also reminds them of, you know, what you put in these 5-gallon buckets here,
Has now turned into rich soil.
people see this as garbage. We take anything that's BPI certified.
Okay, what is BPI?
The Biodegradable Products Institute.
Okay,
It's a good third-party organization nationally that tests material. So a manufacturer says, this is compostable. Maybe it is,
Right.
maybe it isn't.
Right.
It might be, but it may also have,
Toxins.
chemicals added on it.
yeah,
They test for all of that, and then if it gets their BPI certification, we know it's safe to compost.
Right.
It will break down. It's not gonna leave any, chemicals.
Is-
Compostable bags, serviceware.
gotcha. Gotcha, yeah.
There's certain kind of, things that restaurants use for food service and such like that, that is not coated with chemicals, and that can get a BPI certification.
Yeah,
So,
nice.
but this, somebody's throwing away some bread and some other material, and
Yep, egg cartons.
yep,
Yeah.
it's like people would see that as garbage, but
Yeah. And before you started, it was garbage for
Yeah.
a lot of people.
Right.
It was just throw it in the garbage, yeah.
But you mix this with brown material, the office paper, leaves, wood chips,
Right,
water, thyme,
yep.
and something
You
beneficial.
have a great product.
Yeah.
Yeah, great
So
compost.
I mean, it's on the one hand, good to keep this away from the landfill,
Yeah.
but that's not just the only thing it does.
It's turning the junk from the landfill into a usable item for gardens, for
Right.
growing vegetables,
Yeah.
keeping the chemical fertilizer industry at bay.
So this is after we wash the buckets, we stack them in this sort of pyramid style so that they can air dry.
Yep,
Wash the lids as needed.
Okay,
And
yeah.
then reload for the next week. And these are the commercial totes for the customers we have. We've got a couple of soup kitchens and food banks that provide
uh-huh,
some material that they can't sell, not sell, but that they can't use for their clientele.
right.
Um,
And they know it. Now, you bill the commercial customers and the local customers.
Right.
Everyone has to pay for your labor,
Right,
period.
right.
That's all
The
there is
biggest
to it.
expense, honestly, is the travel.
Yeah,
Going
okay.
to people's houses.
Sure.
Collect it. And the time, of course. I worked in public relations for 23 years, and before that, I was a newspaper reporter and editor.
Okay,
But I didn't retire just to this. I mean, this is not costing us money, it's making some money, but it's not covering all of our expenses
Sure.
as a household.
sure.
So now I'm a TA, a teacher's assistant in a special ed class in Glens Falls.
Great.
So that helps with, a little bit of, again, that doesn't pay much either, but between
Yeah,
the two.
right, no, I hear you.
And, provides the benefits that health insurance and such that we need. So that's kind of the process for the curbside compost.
That is a great process, and it's just a great thing to do. Now that looks like a worm bin.
That is, this is version 2. The first one, we had the continuous flow-through bin. The benefit of this is, with the other one, I had to get down on my back on a concrete floor and,
Right.
rake the material out and then pull it out
Yep,
like that.
I did it.
Yeah.
I did it for we had a number of them.
So trying to find a better way, we're doing a wedge system now.
Yeah,
But because this is an unheated barn, I mean, it's protected from the elements to some extent, but there's no heat in here. So we wanted sort of an enclosed box that would protect it further. It's basically built to fit pieces of plywood, so it's 4 foot by 8 foot by
Okay.
4 foot.
okay,
Um,
gotcha.
And, I had a friend of mine build this for us, and I was very particular saying, I needed 4 sides on it, but I also needed to be able to get into it and maybe even with the tractor and the bucket to scoop material and
Right.
such like that. So he built this system, and the door is a little heavy, but
Oh, that is cool. Oh, that's
so it goes like that,
Oh, my goodness.
and then we can access this with the tractor and the bucket if
Oh,
we need
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
But even just scooping with a shovel by hand, you're upright, it's easier,
Yeah.
door's a little heavy.
And, when we were using continuous flow bins, I didn't need a lot of castings. But once I started needing castings, you can't be on your back scraping continuous flow bins.
Yeah.
It doesn't settle fast enough. This is awesome, Bill. I mean,
Yeah.
what a great idea.
Most of the material that we use is horse and cow manure from a farm just up on our road. The reason that I do that is a lot of people think that, well, called Adirondack Worm Farm, and you take our food scraps from our kitchen, so you must be feeding that to the worms.
Right.
And you could, but the reason that we don't is for two reasons. One, we want to make sure that the consistency of the castings is uniform all the time.
Okay.
And the castings are always going to be good, as you know, but they might vary slightly depending on what they're being fed.
Sure.
So
Sure.
in the winter, if you're feeding more breads and grains, and then in the summer you're feeding more fruits and vegetables, the casting is going to be a little bit different. You know, and I want consistency. So horse and cow manure is going to be the same year round.
Yep. Nice.
So that's why we feed them that as reason one. Reason two, composting is unfortunately still sort of foreign to a lot of people. They don't totally understand it.
Yep.
And so I didn't want to say, we can take this and this, but we can't take that, and this is no good, this is okay in certain quantities. I just want to say, if you ever ate it, or you know, if it ever grew, we'll take it.
Right.
You know, so we take fruits, vegetables, meat, dairy, seafood, bones, clamshells, everything.
Okay.
The worms would consume the meat, as you know, but by the time they do, it's going to be rotting and it's going to be stinking.
Right. And the odor would be fantastic.
Yeah. So, you know, so we didn't want to, you know, limit the kind of food scraps that we could take to what the worms could really handle.
Right.
We do that with the hot composting process. The microbes work much more quickly.
Yeah. What do you do with the castings?
We sell the castings to gardeners.
Okay. All right. Well, do they come to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. We don't really do any shipping. We're just not set up for that.
Right.
So if people want to, you know, come to the farm and pick up, you know,
Good.
that's fine. This is really the production for the castings. For growing some more worms and for our worm bin starter kits that we have for people that want to set up a worm bin on their own. Those we pretty much do in the basement of the house, and that's a little easier to control, you know, climate, temperature, and such like that.
Nice.
I'll tell you, the way that I did the original continuous flow-through bin, when we had that set up, was I had old Christmas rope lights from my brother-in-law.
Okay.
He was getting rid of them because they were old. They were not the energy efficient LED style.
Right.
But being the old incandescent style, they actually let off a little bit. I just lined the inside before I put any material in there and any worms and anything. I lined the inside row upon row upon row going up of these Christmas rope lights.
Nice.
And so that was.
Do they get covered with soil?
They did.
The lights.
Yeah. But they're outdoor.
Right, so they can handle it.
Yeah, it worked well. It kept the temperature in there probably close to 70 degrees.
No kidding.
You know, with the insulated cover that I just laid on top, and then the insulated sides, and the Christmas rope lights on the inside.
Yeah.
It worked well.
Wow, fantastic.
I couldn't quite set it up that way with this, but I think the ceiling heat mats will do.
It's only the 2 months that you're really concerned probably for heat mats. I mean, you've had heavy freezes up here already, right? And you haven't had any heat in there during the heavy freezes.
I haven't had any heat in there, and you know, the worms are still doing all right. I mean, you know, they slow down quite a bit. But,
and they're red whalers?
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay. Wow. Fantastic. What a great thing. Hey, I recognize those wheels.
Yes. This is our what would I call it? The baby buggy bumper, something, you know, with our son's old thing, just to keep the, you know, the birds from getting on it and such. But
that is a different mesh. I have the original mesh that came with it. Did you get the original? Yeah, that one there. But then I have the next size up is 1/4 inch, and I use that for all mine. But this was the one he designed for cleaning out stalls.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is cool. Oh, that is cool.
The reason I switched to that is for screening the compost. I would still use this one when we're screening the castings.
Yeah.
But that one, I was initially using that one to screen the castings, but and the material, the consistency of it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But it just was a little too small, and I was leaving so much material behind.
Yeah.
You know, this manages well, and you know, you want stuff a little bit coarser with the compost.
With compost.
So
right. How often do you pick up?
For most of our residential customers, the 5-gallon pail, it's every other week.
Okay.
Some are weekly pickups, but most of them are every other week.
Okay.
For the commercial customers, it's once a week.
Okay.
Just because, you know, they just have that kind of volume that they need weekly.
What does it take you time-wise to do the 70 residentials?
Well, we have it split a little bit, so that probably about 50 to 55 are on every other Wednesday, and then the alternating Wednesdays is another 10 to 15 or 20, maybe some of them are weekly, so they duplicate. And so on our big week, it's about 4 hours for pickups.
That's all, really?
Yeah, but what I do, see, like every
surprised.
bucket, we put a number on every bucket. These are the bucket lids that still need cleaning, but we put a number, so this one's 416. So when we bring the buckets back, we just unload them. It's a Wednesday night, I got school Thursday morning, so we just unload them.
Yeah.
But then on the weekends, I'm weighing them on our scale here.
Okay.
And when I pick them up, I have a sheet, I track, this is the number picked up at this address. And then what number bucket is it, what's the weight, and it goes, so they get credited for that amount of weight that they put aside for composting.
Great.
And then every quarter, we send an email report to our customers saying, since you started composting in whatever month and year they joined us, you've composted a total of, 100 pounds, 1,000 pounds, whatever it is.
Diverted it from the landfill and turned it into rich fertilizer for gardens.
Right, and we give them the equivalent of, miles of driving that they've offset for, like auto emissions kind of thing.
Right.
And what do they pay for weekly residential and then the commercial?
The every other week, the more popular biweekly pickup is $21.50 a month. The commercial, it depends. Some have 2 totes, some have 3, some have 1. So that price really, we're on AdirondackWormFarm.com. We've got everything on our website there. And just on Instagram or Facebook, it's just look up Adirondack Worm Farm and you'll find us.
We brought you a gift,
Oh,
everybody. That's
Wow.
our winter hat, our winter
Cool.
worm people.
well, I'll take off my Adirondack Worm Farm hat. Put
Just
this
for a
one on.
moment. When it gets colder,
Yeah,
a little nicer to wear.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, great.
I'll wear this out to recess with the kids at school.
That was inspiring, to say the least. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but I'm already trying to figure out what I can do with it. But I imagine it's real. This meeting with Bill is really stimulating some of you and getting you to think a little more about what you're doing and what the possibilities are in the future. That's it for today, Worm People. Captain Matt signing out. God bless you, and we'll see you real soon.
Subscribe now, and then head over to wormpeople.com to jumpstart your worm farming journey.